Microsoft is dedicated to the developer community, and the fact that Visual Studio 2010 has been used by the developer community for years and is used even in the creating of the Test Professional version. It's a mature product offering that will enjoy many years of support. So those are some of the key selling points, as well as comparing to the competitors. None of the competitors match up in all 7 of these areas. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the sales scenarios that you're likely to encounter when you are talking with clients. We'll go through these. Some of these will be fairly obvious to you, but they have a ready answer, and maybe my recommendation would be for each of these scenarios to write down your own answers and ways that you think you could address the client and help them with their solution. So I already used an earlier version of Visual Studio, but my testers are not programmers, so how would they benefit? It's common to think in the world that you're going to have to change the mental paradigm. Folks that have been using Visual Studio do not think of it as a software testing tool. They think of it only for their developer community. But now with Visual Studio 2010, the exciting proposition is that software testing is now a market where Microsoft has a significant offering and a new role to play. So that's the messaging. Visual Studio 2010 is optimized for the tester and requires no programming background to be productive. Right out of the box, it'll be supportive of all web-based applications, and from the get-go, there'll be an ability to gain time to be more productive, especially with fast-forward manual testing. It'll be a delight to the tester community, as well as feeling that now, for the first time, that the developer and the tester are on par with each other. No longer will it be that the tester is considered a second-class citizen in the organization, but will have a seat at the table, will be an equal participant in using the test tool based on Team Foundation server, with all the test artifacts being shared along with the entire community. So an earlier version, this is a test-attach approach to selling the software. It'll be a sweet spot to just be able to build a relationship with the QA organization. And some of the messages, again, that will strongly resonate with the QA organization is that there's rich bugs, that the painful build handoff that had been takes place will no longer be an issue, and there's that quick teardown of the virtual environments, and to be able to quickly deploy testing and for test automation will be a big win. So it is a primary audience to upgrade from an earlier version of Visual Studio to 2010 for the test community. Our testers are working hard, but it takes too much time to complete basic regression testing. How can Visual Studio 2010 help our teams? This is a common complaint, is that the testers time has been filled up with highly repetitive tasks, and so the short answer to this is that with Microsoft Test Runner and the fast-forward manual testing will be sped up. And this feature is not found in other software to accelerate your testing cycle by utilizing shared steps throughout your test plan. One of the key components of fast forward is that these are attached to the test cases. So should the test analyst want to utilize just a variety of test cases and fast forward through those test cases, the Test Runner feature will allow them to do that. So that's a key selling point for Visual Studio 2010. It is expensive and complex to maintain separate test environments, but we need to test many configurations quickly and on the fly. The solution is integrated lab management with Visual Studio 2010. It will help significantly to reduce the cost of setting up, configuring, provisioning, and maintaining complex multi-machine test environments. And much of this information is found on the web. You can understand specifically the areas that lab management will help, as well as do the cost comparison. I would recommend that you go to the MSDN blogs. The link is blog.msdn Brian Kell for Brian Keller. He has described in detail the variety of lab management configurations are available, and has done a cost comparison so that you'll be able to share with your clients how they can win with this new piece of software. The developers need more information on the defects and are not seeing the same areas as the testers. Visual Studio 2010 automatically captures information in screenshots for each new bugs, which we call rich detail, and can be attached to bugs, enabling developers to see exactly what the testers are saying. And this is, again, a significant advance in the software and in the tester community, a very welcome addition to their tool set. It is difficult to know when software is ready to ship. Can Visual Studio 2010 help? This is always a question and will continue to be a question. Test progress is at your fingertips and complete control over your planned test track workflow, as well as powerful reporting and dashboards. And the ability to know when a software is ready to ship, if it's based on a time constraint, to be able to have determined which test cases and which test scenarios needed to be tested and what need to pass before a ship can take place. The ability to test based on test cases and then have that reporting and dashboards filled out based on those requirements is a powerful feature within Visual Studio 2010, and it can really help the software test community be able to communicate effectively and feel confident that the software is ready to go. Teamwork is hindered because developers and testers don't share the same tools. Does Visual Studio 2010 solve this problem? Yes, it certainly does. The shared repository based on Team Foundation server, and we've discussed that a number of times during these sessions, and so that's a key selling point for this software. If I replace my current testing tool, will I be able to reuse my test cases? This is a complex answer. I have replied that the answer is yes, but to be more specific, it really depends on what testing tool that your client has been using. In the case of HP Test Tool and Quality Center, it is now possible to export all the data within Quality Center, and either through Microsoft's Test Case Management Plus tool, and there are third-party tools that you can migrate the requirements, test cases, and other test artifacts. There are certain artifacts within, speaking of HP, within QTP that at this point are not supported to be migrated. And this is an objection that you'll have to deal with a current client. For an example, if they are using an automated testing tool and they wanted to just reuse those scripts and import the scripts and run the automation out of Visual Studio 2010, that currently is not supported without a significant amount of rework. So that objection can be handled. It can be handled in a variety of ways to describing how the fast forward feature of Visual Studio 2010 enables a lot of that automated test cases to be replaced and replaced quickly without the excess time to recreate them, or there needs to be a migration plan put in place that over a series of months or longer that the automated testing will be replaced with the new Visual Studio 2010. One of the things it's important to understand is that Quality Center, an HP tool, has been around for 15, 20 years, and is really not optimized for the way testing is currently handled in the marketplace. Specifically, the 70% of the testing done generally, but specifically also that it is a costly tool comparatively, which we'll get into in just a moment, and the tool based on technology that is not the same as technologies used today. So there is a case to be made for an upgrade regarding that test automation scripting. And this discussion will go on for some time, and I expect to see over the next year or two that there'll be some tools that will enable the test scripts from many of these tools to be imported into Visual Studio 2010. We are a .NET organization. Why should I replace my current tool? Well, because Visual Studio is optimized for .NET applications. And really, as I had mentioned earlier, the sweet spot for a .NET organization is to use the Visual Studio 2010. Now, in consideration of this, there's a variety of level of competencies that organizations have, and if I would go from a 1 to 4, if 1 was the most basic and 4 was the most advanced configuration of a company in terms of their testing capabilities, the ideal companies to go after would be number 2 and number 3. Those that are doing ad hoc testing, number 1s, and they have virtually no testing function that's systematized or organized, those are not the best opportunities for Visual Studio 2010 testing, and neither are the highest end, where the test is integrated into all the engineering practices. There's a multidimensional support for test coverage. There's automated daily builds. There's virtualized labs and a high degree of specialization for automation. Those clients as well are heavily invested likely in other tools and would not necessarily be your first option. Your best option is to go into that middle area where the testers are actively engaged but want to be considered more peer level with the development process. Those companies that are either occasionally or regularly using virtualized test labs, they're the ideal market. And .NET organizations that are in that area would be great candidates for Visual Studio 2010 discussions. What version of Visual Studio is right for me? The scope of this session is too limited to really discuss that. There's extensive information online available, but there is a version and a flavor supported for the whole team and specifically for the client's business needs. Will Visual Studio 10 save me money over competitors' commercial products? Again, that's a discussion that would need to be handled specifically, but in general I can say that the Visual 2010 product is very competitively priced compared to other commercial tools in the marketplace. The licensing for many of the tools are prohibitive, and in comparison, the Visual Studio 2010 is a very good cost savings. And comparing to HP, their published prices, the automation portion, the performance portion, the load and the load testing component of the Visual Studio compared to HP is about 1/10 the price. And the test management, that piece that manages the test cases and the test artifacts, is 1/4 the price. And so once those folks that are using HP tools understand that they can save a very significant amount of money by moving to Visual Studio 2010, the price point comparison in and of itself will be a very compelling argument. So in general, to say Visual Studio 2010 is very competitively priced. And it beats the dominant player HP in this market by a considerably wide margin. And the other tools, it's comparable to the other tools that are currently in the marketplace by other vendors other than HP. Okay, session summary. We're wrapping up. Software testing is a growing market where Microsoft comes to play a key role with a great new product. Visual Studio 2010 now incorporates advanced testing features that compete effectively in the marketplace. Testing is vital to ensure quality software businesses need further applications. I appreciate your attention today and hope that these sessions have been of value to you. And in future sessions, we'll discuss specifically areas as the product develops and matures, ways that you can further have discussions around software testing for your clients. Thank you very much. Have a great day.